As the first pale blush of dawn gently unfurls across the vast northern sky, illuminating the serene Viking coastal town in hues of delicate lavender and misty gray, a sense of peaceful continuity breathes softly over the settlement, stretching along a wide, pebbled shoreline, fringed by thick grasses, swaying gently with the breeze. The humble wooden longhouses stand quietly, their roofs lush with thick tufts of moss and grass that blend harmoniously into the surrounding landscape. Here, life moves in a graceful rhythm, dictated by the gentle waves that whisper against the shore, their soft murmurs creating a tranquil symphony of quiet persistence. The morning air, crisp with a gentle chill, carries the scent of salt, seaweed, and the subtle, smoky residue of last night's fires, fragrances interwoven into the very fabric of a life in this tranquil community. With each passing minute, as the soft morning light spreads quietly across the town, the drying racks near the shore slowly emerge from the early mist. These humble structures, crafted from driftwood and weathered timber, polished smooth by wind and sea, stand orderly and reassuring, silently awaiting the daily ritual of drying the sea's bounty. Soon, the villagers emerge from their dwellings, wrapped in cloaks of warm, muted wool, dyed shades of earth and ocean, their faces calm and purposeful beneath hooded coverings and soft woolen scarves. They move slowly, deliberately, each step an unhurried affirmation of their deep connection to the timeless cycles of the sea. Baskets brimming with fresh fish, gleaming herring, sturdy cod, and sleek mackerel are carried methodically toward the drying racks, their shimmering scales catching the muted morning light. The villagers' practiced hands reach gently into the baskets, laying each fish tenderly onto the wooden slats with deliberate care, ensuring air circulates freely, a crucial detail perfected through generations of quiet, patient labor. The rhythm of their work blends seamlessly with the calm, unhurried pace of the waking town, creating a gentle melody of human harmony in tune with nature's timeless rhythms. Nearby, elders sit comfortably on benches fashioned from driftwood, observing with peaceful approval as younger villagers follow traditions they themselves once practiced, their murmured conversations weaving softly through the crisp morning air. Children, wrapped warmly against the chill, wander quietly along the shore, collecting shells or stones, their soft laughter occasionally carried toward the drying racks, adding to the peaceful ambience of this communal activity. Fishing nets are methodically inspected for tears, the intricate knots mended quietly by skilled fingers, their rhythmic motions contributing to the meditative stillness of the morning. Small, fragrant fires are carefully lit, their gentle smoke rising slowly in delicate tendrils that mingle harmoniously with the fresh sea breeze, adding subtle depth to the air's crisp, salty perfume. Gradually, the drying racks fill, row upon row of fish neatly arranged in an almost artistic pattern, their silvery bodies reflecting the growing daylight, a humble yet beautiful tribute to the daily labor that ensures the village's survival. The sun climbs steadily higher, casting gentle warmth over the village, its golden light softening the edges of every surface, lending an ethereal quality to the quiet scene below. Water laps gently at the shore, whispering an ancient lullaby that has echoed unchanged for centuries, a comforting reminder of nature's enduring presence. The villagers pause briefly, breathing deeply the serene moment, aware of the simple, profound joy found in these familiar, repetitive tasks. In the distance, gulls glide lazily above the water, their gentle cries carried softly inland, mingling unobtrusively with the village's subtle morning sounds. You, dear listener, find yourself drawn into this peaceful tableau, your breathing slowing, muscles relaxing, thoughts gently drifting, embraced by the comforting rhythms of this quiet coastal community. Let the soothing sights, sounds, and scents, the rhythmic whispering of the waves, the soft rustle of drying grasses, the subtle aroma of smoke and sea salt envelop you gently, inviting your mind and body into restful calm. Here, in this Viking coastal town, nestled beneath expansive northern skies, you are safe to surrender fully to peaceful slumber, cradled by the timeless harmony of a life intricately woven with the sea. As the morning sun climbs slightly higher, gently piercing through the lingering wisps of coastal mist, the peaceful rhythm of life in the Viking town deepens into a comfortable, unhurried pace. The soft, diffused daylight bathes the drying racks in a muted golden glow, transforming the neatly arranged rows of fish into shimmering, silvery tapestries, their scales glinting softly beneath the gentle caress of sunlight. Each fish, carefully laid out earlier with deliberate care, now begins its slow journey toward preservation, drying gently under the watchful eyes of villagers whose lives are intertwined seamlessly with the cycles of the sea. Nearby, Ingrid continues her steady, methodical tasks, her serene presence providing a comforting anchor amidst the quiet activity unfolding around her. Her hands, strong yet graceful, carefully sprinkle coarse, crystalline sea salt onto each fish, working slowly and attentively, mindful of the delicate balance required to preserve the fish without overwhelming their subtle flavors. The salt, harvested patiently from shallow pools at low tide, glimmers faintly in her palm before scattering gently over the catch, each grain absorbing the moisture steadily, a process repeated countless times throughout generations, unchanged in its simplicity and effectiveness. Around Ingrid, the village women form a quiet circle of companionship, their presence marked not by lively chatter, but by a steady, gentle murmur, punctuated occasionally by soft laughter or the exchange of practical wisdom passed quietly from one generation to the next. Their heads, partially covered by woven scarves and hooded cloaks, occasionally lift toward the sea, eyes scanning the horizon with gentle curiosity, acknowledging the ocean as both provider and companion, its endless expanse stretching calmly beyond the edge of sight. At the water's edge, fishermen begin preparations for their next voyage, their movements slow and purposeful as they inspect nets and sails with practiced hands, repairing any minor tears or frayed edges, their fingers weaving smoothly through the sturdy fibers of the nets. The fishermen's faces, weathered yet calm beneath thick beards, reflect a quiet, reassuring confidence born from years of navigating these familiar waters. Small boats, their hulls carefully crafted from overlapping wooden planks and sealed meticulously with pitch, lie gently bobbing against the shoreline, waiting patiently to be pushed into the water for another day's fishing. The gentle, rhythmic splash of water against their hulls echoes softly, creating a soothing backdrop that weaves seamlessly into the town's peaceful ambience. Children, their curiosity awakened by the ongoing activity, gather quietly along the rocky shore, some playing calmly with smooth sea-polished stones, arranging them into simple patterns in the damp sand, while others observe intently the preparations of the fishermen, absorbing silently the subtle lessons imparted by these daily rituals. Occasionally, the older children lend a helping hand, fetching small buckets of water or coils of rope, their youthful energy tempered by the respectful demeanor instilled by their elders, as they learn by example the gentle balance between work and play. The village elders, now comfortably seated upon benches carved from driftwood and smoothed by weather and time, share quiet conversations rich with experience and memories, their words spoken in gentle tones that blend easily with the gentle murmur of waves lapping the shore. From time to time, one elder rises slowly to offer guidance or assistance, their presence grounding the community firmly in a continuum of knowledge and tradition. Small, carefully tended fires continue to smolder softly near the drying racks, their smoke rising in slow, delicate columns, gently enveloping the drying fish in a subtle fragrance that complements, rather than dominates, the briny freshness of the sea. The smoke's quiet ascent into the sky mirrors the calm, deliberate pace of life here, serving as a silent reminder of the harmony and simplicity that define this coastal community. Occasionally, villagers pause their tasks to gaze quietly across the ocean, observing the play of sunlight upon water, the endless, gentle dance of waves, reflecting the serene rhythm of their own lives. In these moments of contemplation, a profound sense of peace pervades the community, a silent acknowledgement of the enduring bond between people, sea, and sky. The morning slowly drifts toward midday, each minute passing gently, unrushed, perfectly in tune with the rhythm of nature. Ingrid, finishing her careful salting of the fish, steps back momentarily to appreciate the orderly rows that stretch across the drying racks, their neatness a testament to the quiet diligence and careful effort of her community. Taking a deep breath, she fills her lungs with the pure, salty air, her heart comforted by the reassuring presence of neighbors, family, and the timeless sea that shapes and sustains their peaceful existence. And as you, dear listener, rest quietly within this tranquil tableau, allow your breath to slow gently, your thoughts to soften, and your awareness to merge effortlessly with the peaceful rhythm that surrounds you. Here, beneath the wide open northern skies, lulled gently by the whispers of waves and the quiet labor of the Viking coastal town, you are safe and welcome to drift deeper into peaceful, restorative slumber. As the soft warmth of midday settles gently over the Viking coastal town, life continues its unhurried rhythm, effortlessly aligned with nature's timeless flow. The sun now sits directly overhead, its mellow rays washing over the tranquil village and illuminating every surface with a comforting glow. From afar, The drying racks along the shore resemble carefully arranged works of art, their intricate patterns, created by hundreds of glistening fish, gradually transforming beneath the gentle warmth of the sun and the subtle touch of salt and smoke. Each fish continues its quiet journey toward preservation, their silvery skins slowly dulling to a soft, muted sheen, a visual testament to the patience and care of the villagers who tend them with unwavering dedication. Ingrid, having completed the initial salting, moves calmly toward another quiet task, her movements measured and deliberate, never hurried, reflecting the steady pulse of life here. Nearby, several other villagers methodically inspect the fish already laid out, gently turning and repositioning them as needed to ensure even drying, their practiced hands moving gracefully and with gentle precision. The process requires patience, skill, and an intuitive understanding of the subtle changes occurring beneath the warmth of the sun, a knowledge passed down through generations, each new set of hands guided quietly by those that came before. At the water's edge, the fishermen now gently push their small boats into the gentle embrace of the sea, their feet sinking slightly into the wet, firm sand as waves lap softly around their ankles. The boats drift easily onto the calm waters, rocking gently as the fishermen climb aboard, arranging their nets and oars carefully, each motion an unhurried, familiar routine, performed countless times before as they paddle quietly out into deeper waters, their wooden oars dipping rhythmically into the ocean, creating soft ripples that gradually fade into the calm expanse of the sea. Their quiet departure observed by villagers who pause briefly from their tasks, sharing silent nods of encouragement and respect. The village children, gathered at the shoreline, watch the fishermen depart with quiet fascination, their young faces calm yet curious, absorbing quietly the rhythms and responsibilities of life in a coastal village. Gradually, their attention shifts to other gentle activities, some wading carefully into shallow tide pools to study tiny marine creatures in hushed wonder, others sitting quietly on driftwood logs, meticulously braiding strands of grass and seaweed into simple bracelets and ornaments, their laughter soft and unobtrusive, adding gently to the comforting backdrop of sounds. Nearby, a group of older children begin their lessons, taught quietly by village elders beneath the cool shade of a large oak tree, whose branches spread protectively overhead. The elders' voices, rich with wisdom and calm assurance, gently instruct the children in tasks such as mending fishing nets, identifying safe edible plants, or carefully carving simple wooden tools, each skill patiently explained and demonstrated, ensuring the quiet preservation of essential knowledge from one generation to the next. Throughout the village, a gentle hum of peaceful activity continues to unfold, villagers calmly performing routine chores, such as fetching fresh water from clear streams that meander softly into the ocean, chopping firewood with rhythmic, careful strokes, or weaving sturdy baskets from long strips of pliable reeds. The sounds of these tasks mingle harmoniously with nature's gentle symphony, the quiet rustle of grasses stirred by coastal breezes, the rhythmic whisper of waves softly caressing the shore, and the occasional, distant call of seabirds floating lazily above the sparkling waters. At the drying racks, the steady glow of small, carefully tended fires continues to infuse the air with a delicate, smoky aroma, its fragrance blending gently with the scent of salt, wood, and the faint, earthy sweetness of coastal vegetation. Villagers occasionally pause from their labor, lifting their eyes quietly toward the distant horizon, savoring the serenity of the midday landscape, the calmness of the ocean reflecting an endless sky, both vast and peaceful, mirroring the tranquility they have cultivated within their community. Ingrid, after tending diligently to her tasks, pauses briefly, allowing herself a moment of quiet contemplation. Her gaze slowly sweeps across the racks, noting with gentle satisfaction the orderly rows of fish drying evenly beneath the sun's warmth. She lifts her eyes toward the calm sea, watching quietly as the fishermen's boats become mere specks upon the horizon. Their slow, steady progress, a reassuring presence that blends seamlessly into the vast, serene expanse of water and sky. Taking a deep, calming breath, Ingrid allows herself to feel fully the gentle beauty of this moment, surrounded by the subtle sights, sounds, and fragrances that embody her community's quiet harmony with the natural world. And you, dear listener, as you rest gently within this peaceful scene, let your breathing slow further, your body relaxing deeply, soothed by the tranquil rhythms of village life. Allow your mind to drift effortlessly, cradled by the calming whispers of ocean waves, the gentle warmth of midday sun, and the reassuring presence of a community quietly devoted to the simplicity of daily tasks. Here, enveloped by the peaceful harmony of this Viking coastal town, you are safe and welcome to drift deeper into restful, restorative sleep. As the gentle sun climbs higher, reaching its zenith in the pale blue sky above the Viking coastal village, the quiet rhythm of daily life continues to unfold with serene deliberation, embracing the subtle nuances of routine and tradition that sustain the community year after year. Beneath the warmth of the midday sun, the rows of wooden drying racks stand patiently along the shoreline, their sturdy frames gently weathered by salt spray and wind, holding their silent cargo of fish as they steadily dry and preserve under the watchful care of patient hands. Villagers, moving calmly and deliberately, walk slowly between these racks, occasionally pausing to inspect and carefully rearrange each fish, ensuring they receive the optimal balance of sun, breeze, and smoke. The soft murmurs of conversation drift gently through the air, mingling harmoniously with the distant sounds of waves softly breaking along the pebbled beach, creating a soothing tapestry of sound that weaves effortlessly into the tranquil atmosphere. Ingrid, her face serene beneath the shadow of her linen headscarf, moves through her tasks with unhurried precision, her hands gracefully turning each fish, feeling the texture and firmness of the drying flesh with practiced sensitivity. Beside her, fellow villagers quietly attend their own duties, some delicately brushing excess salt away, others arranging small bundles of aromatic herbs, whose subtle fragrance enhances the delicate preservation process. The smoke from small, carefully tended fires rises in delicate wisps, drifting lazily upward to blend with the fresh ocean air, gently infusing each fish with a flavor that will nourish the village Through colder, leaner months ahead, at the water's edge, the fishermen's boats bob gently upon the calm sea, their silhouettes outlined softly against the shimmering horizon as they begin to spread their nets quietly across the water's surface, their movements rhythmic and measured, echoing the serene patience that defines life in the village. Nearby, small groups of villagers engage quietly in supportive chores, such as repairing nets, shaping wooden tools, and maintaining the sturdy hulls of fishing boats, their actions deliberate and mindful, shaped by generations of inherited knowledge. Children, comfortably nestled within the community's protective embrace, quietly learn the essential crafts and skills that will sustain their futures, their bright eyes attentively observing each practiced movement, absorbing with quiet curiosity the timeless wisdom passed gently from elder to youth. The youngest among them, content in simple play, gather smooth, ocean-worn stones along the shoreline, or chase tiny crabs and seabirds through the shallow pools left behind by the receding tide, their laughter soft and unobtrusive, gently coloring the midday air with youthful joy. Elders sit quietly beneath the shade of trees or lean comfortably against driftwood benches, watching calmly as their village thrives, their wise, gentle faces reflecting contentment and quiet pride in a community shaped carefully through tradition, cooperation, and harmonious living. Occasionally, their voices rise gently in quiet storytelling, recalling moments from the village's past, or sharing small, insightful observations about the natural world surrounding them, their words falling softly upon listening ears, reinforcing bonds of kinship and heritage. With each gentle phrase, the peaceful hum of activity continues uninterrupted, supported by the subtle, natural sounds of the environment, the soft rustle of grasses stirred by a coastal breeze, the faint whisper of leaves overhead, and the gentle call of seabirds drifting lazily in the sky above. With every passing hour, the drying fish take on a slightly firmer texture, their surfaces slowly transforming under the patient care of sun, smoke, and salt, each stage carefully noted by villagers whose lives and well-being depend intimately on their quiet dedication to these subtle processes. Ingrid pauses momentarily, stepping back to quietly admire the careful orderliness of the drying racks, her eyes following the neat, glistening rows stretching evenly before her, reflecting a community's gentle labor and devotion. She breathes deeply, savoring the clean, briny scent of ocean air mingled with faint smoke and herbs, her heart at ease with the steady rhythm of this familiar routine. Her gaze slowly drifts toward the sea, where boats continue their tranquil drift along calm waters, their quiet, steady progress emblematic of the peaceful harmony that defines her village's life. And as you, dear listener, rest quietly within the gentle embrace of this serene scene, allow your breathing to slow, your muscles to soften, your thoughts gently drifting away upon the soothing sounds and scents of the Viking coastal town. Here, cradled by the peaceful rhythms of community and nature, beneath wide open skies and alongside gentle seas, you are safe and welcome to surrender fully into deep, restorative sleep, comforted by the quiet beauty and timeless calm of life, lived in gentle harmony with the ocean's patient, endless tides. As the gentle afternoon unfolds gracefully over the quiet Viking coastal town, the village eases comfortably into the soothing rhythm that has shaped daily life for generations, softly and deliberately matching the patient pulse of the ocean waves. The sun, hidden occasionally behind a drifting wisps of thin clouds, casts a soft, diffuse glow that bathes the rows of drying racks along the shore in delicate warmth, their orderly arrangement creating a peaceful tapestry that embodies the calm and steady pace of the community's routines. Each rack continues its gentle work, supporting countless fish whose gleaming surfaces gradually transform beneath the careful attentions of sun, sea breeze, salt, and smoke, steadily moving toward perfect preservation. Ingrid, her hands seasoned by years of gentle repetition, moves slowly among the racks, her gaze thoughtful yet calm as she delicately turns each fish, ensuring an even drying process. Her simple garments rustle softly in the mild coastal breeze, her linen headscarf gently shifting as she moves with practiced grace. The villagers nearby mirror her tranquil pace, each individual quietly focused on their own steady tasks, whether inspecting nets, arranging bundles of fragrant herbs, or patiently stoking the carefully controlled fires that continue to burn gently beneath iron racks, their smoke rising softly into the quiet afternoon air. The faint scent of this smoke, rich yet subtle, tinged with hints of alderwood and sea salt, mingles effortlessly with the crisp aroma of ocean air, creating an atmosphere of comforting familiarity that quietly permeates the entire village. Further along the shoreline, fishermen gently return from their earlier voyages, their boats gliding slowly over calm waters as they approach the village harbor. The soft, rhythmic splash of oars blending seamlessly into the peaceful soundscape. Villagers pause momentarily from their quiet labors, watching calmly as boats gently bump against the pebble-lined shore, their hulls softly rocking with the subtle motion of the sea. Each arrival a serene reaffirmation of the unchanging bond between community and ocean. Children, sensing the gentle shift in activity, gather quietly at the water's edge to watch with quiet fascination as baskets filled with freshly caught fish are slowly unloaded, their eyes attentive and calm, absorbing the steady, purposeful movements of their elders. Elders themselves rest comfortably beneath wide-branched trees or sit on weathered driftwood benches, observing the unfolding afternoon with quiet contentment, their softly spoken conversations weaving gentle threads of tradition and memory through the fabric of the present moment. Nearby, villagers methodically attend to the catch, sorting fish calmly, their movements measured and deliberate, each task performed with respectful awareness of the delicate balance maintained between labor and leisure, work and rest. A steady hum of quiet activity gently permeates the town, punctuated softly by occasional bursts of mild laughter or low murmured conversations, creating a comforting, harmonious backdrop that subtly reinforces the gentle tranquility of the afternoon. Meanwhile, along the drying racks, the fish continue their gradual transformation beneath the attentive watchfulness of villagers whose lives have long depended upon such patient preservation. Each fish represents not only sustenance, but the slow, peaceful rhythm of community life, nourished through generations by careful hands and patient hearts. Ingrid steps back momentarily, her gentle gaze sweeping slowly across the neat rows of drying fish, quietly satisfied by the careful orderliness reflecting collective patience and dedication. Her breathing is deep and slow, perfectly attuned to the gentle pulse of the afternoon. Her mind serene and heart quietly filled with a sense of peaceful belonging. The villagers share in this collective serenity, quietly united by the steady rhythm of their routines. Each subtle movement performed with calm assurance and gentle dedication to traditions shaped quietly over centuries. As the afternoon gently drifts onward toward evening, the village remains enveloped in tranquility, the peaceful harmony between villagers, land, and sea effortlessly sustaining a quiet atmosphere of contented well-being. The coastal breeze, soft and unhurried, continues to whisper gently through grasses and reeds, carrying with it subtle fragrances of salt, herbs, and smoke, further deepening the comforting embrace of this timeless place. The waves, ever present companions to the villagers, continue their soft murmurs upon the shore, their rhythmic ebb and flow, creating an endlessly soothing soundtrack that invites quiet contemplation and gentle relaxation. Birds drift lazily in the vast sky above, their wings outstretched effortlessly, riding invisible currents with graceful ease, their occasional cries adding another soft, unobtrusive note to the afternoon's gentle symphony. In this peaceful, timeless moment, each villager silently reaffirms their quiet commitment to a life lived patiently, simply, and harmoniously, cradled by the gentle embrace of nature. And as you, dear listener, rest quietly in the soothing rhythm of this Viking coastal town, allow your breathing to deepen and slow, your muscles to relax, your thoughts drifting effortlessly, carried gently into peaceful rest by the quiet harmony of life, unfolding gently and steadily beneath a wide, tranquil sky as the soft golden light of the late afternoon slowly deepens, casting long shadows across the quiet Viking coastal town. The entire village begins to settle into an even gentler rhythm, the final hours of the day unfolding with the same unhurried grace that shaped its morning. The sun, now lower in the sky, filters through layers of thin, scattered clouds, turning the air warm with amber and rose hues that glide effortlessly across the sea's glassy surface, painting shimmering trails of fading daylight that reflect like brushstrokes on the calm water. Along the shoreline, the drying racks continue their silent work beneath this tranquil glow, the fish resting on them, now firming with the final stages of drying, their pale, salt-covered skins catching the light in soft, silvery highlights. Ingrid, moving with slow, steady care, makes one last pass among the racks, her hands gently testing the texture of each fish with the sensitivity of a long experience, noting the slight resistance beneath her fingertips. The subtle change that signals the day's progress is nearing completion. Around her, fellow villagers do the same, men and women quietly discussing the condition of the catch, sharing nods and quiet words of affirmation as they adjust positions, cover racks with woven linen, or simply observe with calm satisfaction the results of a day well spent. The scent in the air is layered and rich, a delicate balance of cool salt water, gentle smoke, and the earthy, resinous aroma of pine wood fires that still burn low beside the racks, their flickering flames subdued now, maintained only to finish the process before dusk. In the distance, the returning fishing boats, already anchored earlier, sit silently in the calm inlet, their shapes resting peacefully on still water, their oars stacked neatly within, and nets hung carefully to dry along low pegs hammered into driftwood posts. Children who had earlier played along the sand now sit quietly beside their families, some peeling root vegetables or threading herbs for storage, others simply resting, their young faces flushed with the day's gentle sun, their chatter softened by the approaching quiet of evening. Elders, ever the keepers of patience and perspective, now tell low stories, their words not loud or elaborate, but softly spoken and full of simple wisdom, reminders of old seasons and long winters, of how the sea always returns what is needed in time, if cared for with respect and steadiness. The entire village breathes as one, unified in its silence, its steadiness, its deep trust in the slow cycles of nature, and the deep-rooted strength of shared labor. Wooden pails are carried from home to shore, filled with cool water drawn from fresh springs just inland, poured gently into clay basins for rinsing hands and wiping salted forearms. Fires are prepared for evening meals, though not yet lit, as women move between long houses with baskets of herbs, dried berries, and flatbread wrapped in linen, preparing with quiet grace for a communal supper under the soft light of the approaching dusk. The animals, too, seem to respond to this hour's stillness. Goats settling quietly into corners of their pens, chickens clucking softly as they roost, and the town's few hardy dogs lying content at their owner's feet near the longhouse doors, their ears twitching gently at the sounds of birds returning to the tall pine trees that line the village's edge. Above all, the wind, ever present but never harsh, flows gently over rooftops and down paths, rustling, drying herbs that hang from doorways and weaving through the wooden beams of racks and fences, with a sound so soft and steady it seems more like breath than motion. In this hour, this golden hush before twilight, the Viking coastal town becomes a living lullaby, a place not only of labor and tradition, but of calm reward, of dignity earned through small, repeated acts, done with care. Ingrid, standing now at the edge of the racks, lifts her face to the sky, letting the last warmth of the day soak into her skin, her eyes half closed, her thoughts still and present. Around her, the peace is complete, not empty, but full of quiet purpose, of bonds forged through shared life, of harmony between human and nature, task and rest. And you, dear listener, wrapped in the quiet of this moment, can feel the same stillness settle softly around your thoughts. Let the warm air, the gentle hush, the fading gold of the sun, and the distant lull of the waves soothe your mind and cradle you into deeper calm. Here, In this soft hour along the sea, among people who live gently and work patiently, you are safe to let go, to breathe slowly, and to drift ever deeper into rest, held by the same ancient rhythm that guides each wave, each wind, and every peaceful moment that passes without need for anything more than the quiet, beautiful now, as dusk begins to unfurl its soft curtain over the Viking coastal town. The final light of day stretches long and low across the landscape, bathing everything in a warm amber hue that gently fades toward soft indigo at the edges of the sky, where stars begin to hint at their presence above the slow-moving clouds. The once bright shoreline now glows with a muted brilliance, as if the earth itself is exhaling in contentment after a long and deliberate day of work, and the drying racks, so carefully tended through the morning and afternoon, now stand silhouetted in delicate shadows, their frames creaking gently in the evening breeze as the salted fish finish their quiet transformation. Each fish lies still, its body firm and pale beneath the last glow of sunlight, the scent of brine and smoke clinging lightly to the air like a memory of the day's labor. Ingrid, her hands still lightly dusted with salt, walks one final round along the racks, her fingertips brushing over the linen covers, now gently tied over the rows, protecting the catch from night moisture and wandering birds. Her steps are slow, contemplative, and unhurried, her woolen cloak shifting softly as she moves, the hem catching the breeze and fluttering just slightly in the fading light. All around her, the village too is winding down, its once busy lanes now softened into quiet trails of movement as the final tasks of the day are completed with calm purpose. Fires lit gently for supper, doors latched against the coming night, and lanterns hung carefully along thresholds, casting small, flickering circles of amber light on packed earth. The quiet murmur of conversation continues, but now it is hushed, more intimate, as families gather near hearths or on stoops, sharing warm bowls of fish stew, fresh bread, and berries collected from the inland brush. The aroma of herbs, dill, juniper, and wild thyme mingles with the soft scent of smoke from the low cooking fires, weaving through the village in comforting trails that remind all who breathe them of the nearness of warmth, of nourishment, and of sleep. Children, weary from their play and lessons, now curl close to their parents, some wrapped in thick woven blankets, their eyes heavy with the weight of the day's peaceful routine, their minds slowly slipping into dream. The elders, seated in their usual places, share the final stories of the evening, simple tales of the sea, of harvests, of stars long watched, and winds long remembered, their voices low and steady, as calming as the lapping of waves against the smooth stones of the shore. The sea itself, ever present and deeply woven into every breath of village life, seems to respond in kind to the quieting world around it, its tides rolling in with a soft and regular rhythm, no longer sparkling with sunlight, but now cloaked in the cool silver of twilight, reflecting the pale glow of the moon just beginning to rise above the distant hills. Above, seabirds return to their rocky nests, their final cries for the day echoing gently through the sky before fading into silence, and the wind, once playful and busy, now moves more slowly, like a lullaby drifting through the wooden beams of homes and the carefully constructed drying racks that will rest quietly through the night. Ingrid, now finished with her rounds, pauses at the edge of the beach, gazing out across the still water where the boats rest gently, tethered, and bobbing in perfect harmony with the pulse of the sea, their forms dark and simple against the shimmering path of moonlight now stretching from the horizon to the shore. She stands in thoughtful silence, her heart attuned to the stillness, to the deep satisfaction of a day that unfolded without rush or conflict, filled with humble acts and shared work. As she turns back toward her longhouse, the voices of her neighbors mingle softly with the sound of waves and wind, and the village seems to settle like a great living creature into peaceful slumber, each of its people wrapped in the quiet comfort of place and purpose. And you, dear listener, wrapped in the softness of this gentle night, may allow yourself to drift along this same rhythm, your thoughts gently untangling, your breath slowing to match the soft cadence of the sea. Let the warmth of the fires, the calm of the waves, and the deep peace of the village at dusk cradle you fully, carrying you slowly into rest, into stillness, into the kind of sleep that comes not from exhaustion, but from the quiet satisfaction of a life lived gently, patiently, and in harmony with the world. Here, under the darkening sky, and beside the calm northern sea, you are safe, you are held, and you are free to surrender to the peaceful embrace of night. As the last glimmers of twilight dissolve gently into the deep velvet of night, the Viking coastal town succumbs fully to a stillness so complete, so profoundly peaceful. It feels as though the entire world has exhaled in unison and slipped quietly into a well-earned rest. The sky above is a canopy of rich indigo, flecked with distant stars that shimmer like ancient watchfires, burning in the vast quiet of the cosmos, each one casting a subtle glow that barely touches the ground, but lingers in the imagination of those who once named them. The moon, now rising high above the gently lapping sea, casts a long, silvery trail across the water's surface, illuminating the boats that rest quietly in the harbor, small wooden vessels now tethered and still, their sails furled and their hulls rocking gently with the rhythmic breathing of the tide. Along the shoreline, the wooden drying racks stand like ghostly sentinels, their frames now draped in protective cloths that flutter faintly in the cool night breeze, guarding the rows of fish within as they continue their silent, patient transformation under the stars. The scent of salt and smoke lingers in the air, though now softened by the damp freshness of nightfall, mingling with the faint aromas of earth, pine, and the faintest trace of wild herbs crushed beneath the day's footsteps. Within the village, the longhouses glow faintly from within, their windows warm with flickering firelight that dances gently across wooden walls and thatched ceilings, creating a soft and steady pulse of life in the otherwise hushed landscape. Inside, families gather close around hearths where the flames crackle quietly, casting shifting shadows that stretch and contract like slow-moving spirits along the floorboards. Bowls are now empty, bellies full, and voices hushed. Spoken words have given way to the softer language of shared silences, of heads resting on shoulders, of fingers braiding loose strands of hair, or mending the edge of a cloak with the last of the day's light. Children sleep soundly, their forms curled beneath thick woolen blankets, the softness of lambskin pillows beneath their heads, and the low hum of their parents' breathing surrounding them like a lullaby sung without melody. Outside, the animals too have drifted into calm, their pens quiet, their movements minimal, the goats nestled together for warmth, the chickens roosting high in their coops, and the dogs stretched out near doorways, ears twitching occasionally in response to distant, fading sounds carried in on the breeze, waves breaking softly on shore, or the creak of a rope shifting on a moored boat. In the quiet lanes between homes, the soft crunch of gravel beneath a lone pair of footsteps might be heard now and again as someone checks on a fire, or secures a shutter, or simply walks beneath the stars for the comfort that comes from feeling small beneath such an endless sky. And high above it all, the wind continues its patient path across the rooftops and fields, brushing gently through the reeds at the edge of the water, bending grasses with its silent breath, and slipping through the open spaces between buildings like a whisper, too soft to hear, but too real to ignore. Ingrid, now finished with her evening chores, steps quietly outside, drawing her cloak tighter around her shoulders as she lifts her face toward the heavens, her eyes adjusting slowly to the night's clarity. She stands still, listening not for anything in particular, but for the absence of interruption, for the completeness of quiet that only arrives when every task is finished, every voice has softened, and every fire has burned down to its core of coals. Her thoughts drift like clouds across her mind, memories of her mother teaching her how to dry fish properly, of her father telling stories of stars and sea monsters, of long winters when warmth came not just from fires, but from being near others, slow movement of the earth that brings the light ever closer. A gull, sensing the change, lets out a single call from somewhere beyond the dunes, its voice cutting gently through the quiet, not jarring, but purposeful, as if inviting the world to prepare itself. Ingrid's eyes flutter open slowly. She lets these thoughts pass gently, like the breeze itself, not holding on to any one of them too tightly, simply acknowledging them as part of the life that has shaped her days. Around her, the village continues to exude a kind of sacred stillness, a deep restfulness born not from inactivity, but from the fulfillment of honest labor, from knowing that each moment of the day has been lived with care, and that night has been welcomed with open arms. And you, dear listener, resting now within this scene, may feel your own breath soften and deepen, your limbs grow heavier, your thoughts drift further into the gentle rhythm of rest. Allow the night sounds, the slow crashing of the distant surf, the gentle crackle of dying fires, the whisper of wind against wood, to lull you into a deeper stillness, to remind you that there is nothing left to do now, no worries that cannot wait for morning. Here, within the comforting embrace of the Viking village at night, you are safe, you are held, and you are welcome to surrender entirely to sleep, knowing that the stars will watch over you, the wind will sing to you, and the sea will cradle you through the quiet hours until dawn. As midnight descends gently upon the Viking coastal town, the world seems to fold inward into a deeper layer of silence, a profound and comforting stillness that wraps the village like a thick woolen blanket drawn across the land and sea alike, softening every sound, dimming every shadow, and slowing the very passage of time. The stars now blanket the night sky in breathtaking abundance, pinpricks of ancient light scattered across a canopy of infinite indigo, their quiet shimmer reflected faintly in the calm waters of the inlet, where the anchored boats sit absolutely still, their wooden hulls nestled in the sea as if cradled by a mother's arms. The moon, now high and strong, bathes the entire shoreline in a pale silver glow, revealing the shapes of the drying racks in ghostly relief, their upright frames like quiet skeletons of the day's labor, clothed in linen coverings that flutter lightly in the faintest breeze. The salted fish within them rest undisturbed, their transformation into preserved food continuing slowly and invisibly through the quiet hours, guided not by the hands of the villagers now, but by time, air, and the elemental care imbued in every earlier step. The scent of salt and aged smoke hangs faintly in the still air, mingling with the scent of seaweed, pine, and distant hearth fires that continue to burn low within the longhouses, their embers pulsing with soft red light like hearts beating slowly in slumber. Inside the homes, the quiet is nearly complete. The fires have settled into their final stages of warmth, casting barely their shadows on fur-covered floors and wooden beams as families sleep deeply beneath thick woolen covers, their breath rising and falling in calm rhythm, their minds resting in dreams free from urgency, wrapped in the safety of shared shelter and routine. Ingrid sleeps as well, curled on her side beneath a bearskin blanket, the slow inhale and exhale of her breath matching the gentle creak of the house timbers and the low murmur of waves rolling onto the shore just beyond the door. Her day's work finished, and her body soothed by familiarity and gentle purpose, her dreams are quiet ones, images of walking the shore in spring, of hanging fresh herbs in the sun, of small boats slipping across glassy seas under early morning skies. Outside, the village paths lie empty, their packed earth cool under moonlight, bordered by tufts of wind-brushed grass and the quiet presence of sleeping animals. Goats tucked warmly into hay-covered pens, chickens gently rustling in their roosts, dogs lying in curled positions near doorways, ears flicking only at the softest sounds. From the forest's edge, the trees stand tall and unmoving, their dark branches etched like black lace against the sky, holding the night's secrets in their silence and offering gentle shelter to owls whose wings pass noiselessly overhead. Occasionally, the night wind stirs more strongly, sweeping softly over the rooftops and through the narrow spaces between homes, weaving around drying racks and brushing gently through the woven fences, its voice a low whisper that hums like a lullaby known by heart. The ocean, too, continues its patient song, not loud or crashing, but present and dependable. The waves now hushed into slow, deliberate rolls that speak of the tide's eternal pulse, a song older than memory and deeper than words. The entire village breathes in concert with it, houses, animals, trees, and sea, all part of the same ancient rhythm that binds land to water, people to earth, and moments to eternity. Even the stars seem to pulse gently in time with this slow nocturnal rhythm, their faint twinkling steady and soothing, casting just enough light to outline the contours of rooftops and the narrow paths between homes, yet not enough to disturb the restful darkness that cradles everything beneath it. There is no movement now, only the idea of movement held in suspension like a breath held just before a sigh, a moment stretched out in infinite calm, where time no longer pushes forward but hovers gently in place. And you, dear listener, floating now in this midnight landscape, may feel yourself gently surrendering to that same stillness, your breath slowing to match the waves, your limbs softening as the warmth of the imagined hearth surrounds you, and your thoughts loosening like leaves on a still branch, letting go without effort. Let the peace of this hour wrap itself around you. Let the moonlight and the salt air and the quiet rhythm of the village at rest become your own rhythm, your own peace. There is nothing to fear here, nothing to do, no voices to answer, and no tasks to complete, only the deep and ancient comfort of a place that has known countless midnights and met each one with calm acceptance and enduring quiet. Here, in this Viking coastal town, under a vast northern sky, as the drying racks stand still and the waves kiss the shore in endless, hushed return, you are safe, you are seen, and you are free to drift even deeper into the soft waters of sleep, carried gently on the tide of stillness that guides this world through the sacred, silvery heart of night, as the final hours of night begin to loosen their hold on the Viking coastal town. A faint, almost imperceptible glow begins to rise on the eastern horizon, a gentle, silvery blue that stretches slowly across the edge of the world like the first quiet breath before waking, promising the return of day without disturbing the stillness that blankets the village. The stars, still glittering above, begin to fade one by one as the sky deepens from midnight indigo to the earliest hues of approaching dawn, while the moon lingers high and proud, its soft glow bathing the wooden longhouses, drying racks, and shoreline in a gentle light that feels more dream than reality. The sea lies hushed and unmoving beneath this sky, a perfect mirror for the celestial dome above, disturbed only by the occasional ripple from a sleeping fish or a distant seabird gliding silently just above the surface. The drying racks, having stood in patient vigil through the night, now hold fish that are firmer, their preservation furthered by hours of moonlight, wind, and the steady influence of the cool night air. Their shapes lie still beneath linen covers, their soft, salted skins no longer slick with the sea, but gently touched by time, by smoke, by care, along the quiet paths that wind between the long houses and out toward the water. There is no movement yet, only the expectation of movement, the quiet readiness of a place on the brink of waking. The village slumbers deeply, each home cloaked in silence, each fire reduced to a soft, glowing ember, casting faint red halos across hearthstones where ashes have settled into stillness. Inside, people lie wrapped in the final layers of sleep, their bodies curled warmly beneath heavy woolen blankets, their dreams still drifting softly through their minds, untouched by the day's demands. Ingrid stirs faintly in her sleep, shifting beneath her furs as the cool pre-dawn air brushes against the edge of her bed. Her breath steady and slow, her hands resting softly at her sides, as if holding the memory of yesterday's labors. In her dream, she walks beside the sea in morning mist, placing fish gently on racks that shimmer like silver threads in the rising sun. Each step a repetition of a familiar ritual, each moment timeless and suspended. Outside her home, the goats shuffle gently in their pens, one or two softly snorting or curling closer to another for warmth, while the chickens still rest, heads tucked under wings, unaware of the shifting light above them. A dog lifts its head slightly from the doorstep, blinking once into the dimness before settling back into slumber, lulled once more by the lack of sound and urgency. The wind, which had danced playfully through the village during the early evening hours, now moves with the gentlest of touches, a near-still breath weaving softly between the racks, across rooftops and down to the shore, carrying with it the sense of brine, cool earth, and faint traces of smoke that still linger from the evening fires. The sky begins to pale more noticeably now, taking on the soft colors of oyster shell and driftwood, streaked with the first hints of lavender and the faintest touch of pale peach, while the clouds stretch lazily across the horizon, their undersides glowing faintly in anticipation of the rising sun. In this transitional hour, the world holds its breath, suspended between sleep and waking, between darkness and light, between the restfulness of night and the gentle call of morning. The ocean responds with a quiet murmur, its waves beginning to roll with slightly more definition, the tide shifting subtly, signaling the great, her breath steady as she lies still for a moment, adjusting to the dim light that has crept into her longhouse. She does not rise immediately. Instead, she watches the flicker of dawn light play against the wooden beams of her ceiling, listens to the faint sounds of her home, wood creaking, coal shifting, a draft moving through the thatch, each sound grounding her gently in the moment. Outside, other homes begin to stir, soft footfalls marking the first signs of movement. A wooden door creaks as it opens to the gray light, and someone coughs gently as they stoke the embers of a fire. The village is waking, not abruptly, but slowly and with grace, like a story continuing after a long pause, like a song resuming in a familiar key. And you, dear listener, as you lie wrapped in the quiet of this moment, may find yourself nestled deeply in the calm of this pre-dawn world. Allow your thoughts to stretch slowly, like light across a dark sky. Allow your breath to match the slow rhythm of waves, returning to shore, and permit yourself to linger in this gentle space between night and day, knowing there is no rush, no pressure, only the peace of a world that wakes slowly, with reverence and care. Here, beneath the soft hush of the fading stars and the promise of a new morning, you are safe, you are grounded, and you are welcome to remain in the warmth of rest for just a little longer, carried tenderly in the arms of quiet before the sun begins to rise. As the first light of morning unfurls softly across the Viking coastal town, The once muted sky begins to glow with tender streaks of rose gold, pale tangerine, and soft blue, like gentle brushstrokes washing away the final veil of night, bringing with it the quiet unfolding of a new day and the promise of rhythms familiar and deeply rooted. The sun peaks slowly above the distant horizon, its reflection shimmering across the surface of the sea like a pathway of molten light, stretching from the horizon to the shore, casting a subtle radiance upon the wooden drying racks that still stand like steadfast guardians of the village's labor. The linen coverings gently ripple in the cool morning breeze, revealing beneath them rows of fish, now firm and pale, their transformation nearly complete, the result of salt, smoke, wind, and time working in a patient concert through the long hours of darkness. The faint scent of salt-dried skin and lingering ash weaves into the morning air, mingling with the cool freshness of dew-drenched earth and the distant aroma of smoke just beginning to rise from rekindled hearths. Within the longhouses, villagers begin to stir, their movements slow and quiet, marked by the sounds of wooden floorboards creaking beneath wool-clad feet, the soft rustling of blankets being folded aside, and the low murmur of voices greeting the day, in tones hushed but warm. Ingrid, already awake, wraps herself in a thick cloak and steps into the early light, her breath visible in the crisp morning air as she moves toward the drying racks with steady purpose, her boots crunching softly against the packed earth path. Her eyes scan the rows with calm attention, fingertips brushing gently over the fish as she checks their firmness, nodding to herself in quiet approval as the sun illuminates their pale, even surfaces. Around her, other villagers join the day's quiet beginning, some fetching fresh buckets of water from the well, others feeding chickens or leading goats from their pens to graze near the edge of the woods where the light filters through swaying branches like golden mist. The dogs trot lazily after their owners, stretching and yawning, tails wagging in slow arcs, while children, still blinking away the final remnants of sleep, gather kindling and help fold cloths that had covered the racks overnight, their soft laughter and footsteps bringing life to the quiet morning air. In the distance, the fishermen ready their boats once more, their silhouettes moving against the glimmering sea, lifting oars and nets with practiced ease, their voices low as they share brief morning words before pushing out toward deeper waters. The gentle sound of waves breaking against the shoreline continues as a steady heartbeat, echoing the slow and thoughtful energy of the village, each movement a continuation of cycles that have remained unchanged through generations, simple, intentional, and peacefully repetitive. Fires are relit in hearths, their smoke curling upward from stone chimneys and drifting lazily into the sky, carrying with it the smell of fresh bread, seaweed broth, and herbs harvested in the cool hours. Before dawn, the village begins to hum once more with its familiar symphony, not loud or hurried, but layered with soft texture. The clatter of wooden bowls being stacked, the rhythmic motion of broom against floor, the creak of leather straps as carts are loaded with baskets of dried fish bound for nearby settlements. Ingrid, now joined by her younger sister and an elder from the house beside hers, begins to gently remove the linen from the final rows of racks, folding the fabric with slow precision and setting it aside to be cleaned and aired before the next catch arrives. They speak little, needing no instruction or explanation, their movements guided by a shared knowledge that runs deeper than words, a language of repetition, of gesture, of seasonal memory. Overhead, birds begin to call in earnest, their voices rising as the sky brightens, and the breeze picks up, tugging playfully at cloaks and braids, as the scent of brine and fish and pine trees thickens with the sun's warming touch. A sense of quiet productivity spreads across the village, each person focused yet relaxed, bound by the knowledge that what must be done has been done before and will be done again, each repetition a blessing of stability rather than a burden. The drying racks, now uncovered, stand proudly in the full light of morning, the fish arrayed in glistening order, rows upon rows of shimmering silver and ivory, each one a testament to patience, skill, and community effort. Ingrid pauses, hand resting lightly on the edge of the rack, and looks out to sea, her eyes following the slow arc of a boat as it glides across the morning tide. The wind lifts her hair gently around her face, the sunlight catching in its strands, and for a moment, everything is still, a quiet inhale, before the day breathes fully into motion. And you, dear listener, lying in this soft moment at the edge of waking, may find yourself cradled by the same sense of calm and certainty, your breath slow, your body warm, your mind soothed by the simple peace of a world that begins again, not with noise or urgency, but with quiet purpose and gentle repetition. Let the morning breeze, the low voices of villagers, the call of gulls, and the slow roll of the sea carry you further into calm, into a rest so deep it feels like returning home. Here, in the golden hush of a Viking morning, where nothing is rushed and all is familiar, you are safe, you are grounded, and you are free to remain in the comfort of this slow and sacred beginning. As the morning deepens and the early golden light begins to climb higher into the broad northern sky, casting a gentle warmth over the Viking coastal town, the village eases into the next phase of its daily rhythm, a slow, peaceful transition from waking to nourishment, from preparation to participation, as the morning meal is prepared and shared with quiet gratitude and simple ceremony. The drying racks, now fully uncovered, stand proudly along the shoreline, like woven wooden sculptures adorned with glistening rows of fish, catching the light in shifting patterns of silver, cream, and pale ash, their textures roughened by the sea breeze, their forms steady under the attentive gaze of those who have spent generations learning when the fish is truly ready. Ingrid, having inspected her portion of the racks with care, steps back into the worn dirt path that leads between the homes, her boots crunching softly against the ground as she carries a small woven basket of dried herbs, lavender, wild thyme, and bits of sea rosemary, toward the longhouse where the communal hearth fire has been reignited, its flames now flickering gently and sending coils of fragrant smoke curling toward the wide open sky. Inside, the house glows with the light of the fire, casting a warm amber sheen across polished wooden beams and stone hearths, where iron pots sit suspended above glowing coals, filled with a slowly simmering broth of root vegetables, barley, seaweed, and bits of salted fish from earlier days. A recipe so old that no one questions its origins, only its comfort. Around the hearth, a handful of villagers sit on low stools or woven mats, hands busy slicing herbs, kneading dough, or stirring porridge in quiet companionship. Their voices low and warm, more murmurs than conversations, the kind of soft background sound that comforts rather than distracts. Children wander in and out of the doorway, some helping by carrying small bundles of firewood or bowls of berries collected at dawn, others simply watching, their eyes wide and curious as they observe the care and patience of their elders, learning not through instruction, but through presence. Dogs lie sprawled near the entrance, their bodies stretched out to soak up patches of sunlight slipping across the floorboards, ears flicking lazily as the scents of food begin to fill the room. Rich and earthy and briny, the unmistakable aroma of sustenance that speaks to bellies and memories alike. As the meal nears readiness, bowls are laid out, wooden vessels, smooth from years of use, each one unique in grain and curve, passed from hand to hand with quiet familiarity. There is no hurry, no clatter of urgency, just the gentle precision of a process repeated endlessly, not out of obligation, but as an act of shared life, of community. Ingrid ladles a portion of broth into a bowl, adding a pinch of dried herbs and a twist of bread to its side, then passes it with a small nod to a younger woman seated nearby, who murmurs thanks without needing to speak. Above the warmth of the fire around them, the mood is reflective, grounded, and soft, as if the meal is less about hunger and more about continuity, about the thread that ties the morning to the past and the present to each person seated around the hearth. Outside, the light brightens further, touching the tops of trees and the ridged peaks of thatched rooftops, casting soft shadows on the earth and causing the fish on the racks to glisten anew. Their stillness now a quiet echo of the villagers' own patient energy. The wind moves through the village gently, rustling linen curtains in the longhouse doorways, lifting the edges of herb bundles that hang drying from the rafters, and carrying the smells of broth, bread, and fish into the open air, where it mingles with the ever-present scent of the sea. Across the town, other fires are tended, other meals shared, and each family partakes of the same nourishment, connected not just by ingredients or timing, but by the shared rhythm of life that pulses through every hour, every task, every wordless glance between people who know one another as deeply as they know the tides. After the meal, there is no rush to rise, no signal of urgency, only the soft sounds of bowls being rinsed, of laughter being exchanged like a secret, of chairs creaking as bodies stretch slowly in preparation for the next task, the next quiet effort, whether it be mending nets, tending fires, gathering reeds, or inspecting the salted catch. Once again, Ingrid steps outside once more, blinking gently in the sunlight as she adjusts her shawl against the breeze, her body warmed by food, her mind steady in its calm. She walks with ease toward the shoreline, her footsteps aligning once more with the earth she knows so intimately, her gaze scanning the village she's never needed to leave, where every path is familiar And every face is part of the same slow, steady story. The ocean glints in the light, a vast and constant presence whose sound is the village's lullaby, and its anthem, never overpowering, never absent, always there, lapping the rocks, whispering to the sand, calling and answering the rhythms of the people who live by its grace. And you, dear listener, sitting within this moment in the heart of the Viking village's morning, may feel the slow warmth of that broth, the softness of that fire, the easy cadence of shared breath and gentle labor weaving itself into your own thoughts, into your own calm. Let yourself remain in this space where the day moves with grace, where no hour is wasted and no effort is hurried, and where the simple act of eating beside others becomes a silent song of gratitude, continuity, and peace. Here, where morning stretches out with patience, where the fish dry in rows and the sea waits beyond, you are welcome to linger, to rest, and to be part of this unbroken chain of calm. One breath, one bowl, one heartbeat at a time, as the gentle rhythm of the morning meal fades into the warm quiet of mid-morning. The Viking coastal town returns once more to its familiar cycle of quiet labor, not with urgency or clamor, but with the same steady patience that has guided its people for generations, as if the village itself breathes in unison with the tides, inhaling the warmth of sustenance and exhaling the calm focus of daily work. The sunlight has now risen fully into the sky, casting a golden wash across the longhouses and the gently undulating shoreline, where the drying racks stand tall and ordered, their weathered frames gently creaking in the breeze, holding rows upon rows of fish that glisten in the light with a muted shimmer, each one a silent testament to the slow, careful labor that makes survival possible in this quiet corner of the world. Ingrid, refreshed from the morning's warmth and nourishment, wraps her shawl tighter as she steps out onto the sunlit path that winds past the drying grounds, her hands instinctively reaching for a wooden bucket filled with clean linen and tools for inspecting the racks once more. Around her, the village has come back to life in a gentle, unspoken harmony. No calls, no instructions, only the quiet coordination of people who know their tasks by heart, their roles passed down through years of observation and practice. Children carry bundles of twine or baskets of trimmed herbs, their bare feet brushing against the packed dirt paths as they move between homes, always watching, always learning. At the far end of the beach, a group of men mend nets with slow precision, their fingers moving like musicians across worn fibers, speaking little, their gestures more meaningful than words. The boats they pulled in earlier sit slightly tilted in the wet sand, their hulls drying in the sun, nets draped across wooden stands like woven wings. Dogs follow their owners back and forth with lazy devotion, occasionally stopping to dig at the sand or chase a drifting feather, their tails wagging in slow rhythm with the mood of the village. Along the racks, Ingrid and a few other women work in tandem, checking the fish for firmness, turning them with care, and brushing away loose salt that has gathered in tiny crystals at the edges of the skin. They move with grace and slowness, speaking occasionally in soft voices about the weather, about the growth of the herbs, or about memories of other seasons when the wind was colder or the catch more plentiful. The wind today is soft, and cool, blowing in from the sea with the faint scent of seaweed and pine, lifting loose strands of hair and tugging gently at the fabric of cloaks and skirts, a constant companion that wraps around the village without ever disturbing its peace. Smoke rises gently from the remaining hearth fires, curling upward and vanishing into the clear blue sky, leaving behind only the faint scent of alderwood and peat, a comfort that clings to the skin like warmth from a familiar blanket. The birds above wheel slowly in the air, their cries sharp, but not jarring, as if even they respect the hush of this place, circling high before gliding inland toward the woods, where the trees stand in still agreement with the pace of life near the sea. Ingrid pauses, wiping her hands on a folded cloth, her gaze scanning the horizon where the sea and sky meet in a seamless band of soft light, her eyes catching the distant movement of a fishing boat making its slow return, its mast swaying gently with the motion of the waves, the figures aboard too small to recognize, but known all the same. There is no need to rush to the shore. The village trusts in the sea's rhythms, just as it trusts in the care of those aboard. Instead, Ingrid turns her attention back to the racks, where the work is quiet but essential, where every fish is placed with intention and tended with respect. The younger women watch her closely, mirroring her movements, adjusting their touch with each quiet correction, learning through rhythm and proximity rather than spoken instruction. A child skips past with a smile, offering a small bouquet of lavender and wild chamomile tied with a string of grass, and Ingrid accepts it with a gentle nod, tucking it into the fold of her shawl before returning to her work. Around her, time seems to stretch wide and slow, as though the village exists in its own gentle current, unaffected by the faster pace of distant places, governed only by the sun, the sea, and the shared knowledge of hands that have shaped this life since before memory. And you, dear listener, standing unseen among these paths, watching as cloth is folded, fish are tended, and voices hum like soft lullabies in the background of the day, may feel your own breath sinking with the calm rhythm of this place. Let yourself settle more deeply into this moment, where nothing needs to be hurried, and where every small act carries the weight of continuity, of care, of connection to land and sea. Here, beneath the northern sky, in the hush of a Viking village, bathed in gentle light and grounded in daily purpose, you are free to let go of urgency, to rest your thoughts, and to know the beauty of work done slowly, together, and with love. As the sun reaches its peak in the cloudless northern sky, its light spills generously over the Viking coastal town, warming every stone, every timber, and every soul, moving slowly through the well-worn paths of this ancient seaside village, casting long, soft shadows across the earth and shimmering gently off the wide, open sea that stretches endlessly toward the horizon. The warmth is neither harsh nor stifling, but gentle and embracing, like the touch of a woolen blanket left out in the sun, and it settles over the village in a way that seems to invite everything and everyone to pause, to breathe deeply, and to move even more slowly through the familiar motions of the day. The drying racks, now filled with fish in varying stages of transformation, stand in quiet stillness beneath the golden light, their frames bleached smooth by sun and salt over many seasons, their contents shimmering faintly in the heat as a soft breeze from the water glides across the racks, rustling the linen covers that shade the most delicate of the day's catch. The scent of sun-warmed brine, faint wood smoke, and drying herbs mixes with the steady undertone of the ocean's breath, creating an atmosphere so calming and complete that it seems to muffle even the occasional bark of a dog or the soft call of a gull overhead. Ingrid walks slowly between the racks with a bucket of water in one hand and a cloth in the other, not to clean or correct, but to gently moisten the linen wraps where the wind has made them dry too soon. Her movements calm and practiced, her steps as even and sure as the tides return. Her shadow moves across the sunlit ground beside her, long and narrow, dancing softly between the wood beams and pebbles, a quiet reflection of her place within this shared rhythm of life. Around her, other villagers move with similar care, some carrying armfuls of new fish laid out freshly from the morning catch, others returning empty baskets to their storage places, weaving calmly between the homes and the racks like rivers of slow-moving energy, unspoken and unhurried. Children sit in circles on soft patches of grass, braiding strands of reeds into loops, crowns, and simple rope, their fingers nimble and their conversation light, drifting into the air like bubbles that rise and pop without sound. From a distance, one can hear the steady sound of a blade moving over wood as an elder carves new pegs for the racks with slow, deliberate movements, each stroke a quiet testament to his years of shaping and reshaping the tools that keep the village working smoothly. In the longhouses, doors remain open to let the midday warmth inside, where shadows flicker along the walls as sunlight dances through openings in the thatched roofs, creating soft moving patterns on the dirt floors and casting a golden glow across woven blankets and hanging herbs. Within one such home, a young woman kneels near the hearth, slowly grinding sea salt into fine powder with a stone tool, her hands moving in gentle circles, her eyes focused yet serene, while behind her a pot of fish stew simmers quietly, its aroma mingling with the scent of the sun-warmed timbers and the wild thyme hanging in small bundles from the beams above. Outside, Ingrid stops briefly by the well, drawing up a small wooden bucket of cool water that creaks softly as it rises, the sound barely louder than the whisper of the wind. She drinks slowly, wiping her mouth with the back of her sleeve before passing the dipper to a child who waits patiently nearby, and the exchange happens in silence, with a small smile. No words needed in a place where understanding flows as naturally as the sea. The sun overhead bathes the entire village in soft radiance, highlighting the reddish hues of clay pots, the faded blues of woven tunics, and the pale green of moss that clings to stones and fences, creating a palette of earthy warmth that reflects the harmony of land, water, and human life coexisting in stillness. The boats remain anchored quietly in the bay, their sails furled and their nets drying along wooden poles, while the gulls swoop lazily above, their shadows sliding across the rooftops like soft brushes of gray. The wind brings with it the faint rustle of pine trees from inland, and the distant babble of a small stream that flows beyond the last house. Its steady murmur, another voice in the village's gentle song. No one rushes, for there is no need. Each task, whether complete or ongoing, holds equal weight, equal meaning, and the passage of time is not marked by clocks or bells, but by the arc of the sun and the deep knowing that everything unfolds in its own perfect rhythm. And you, dear listener, surrounded by the softness of this sunlit scene, may feel your body slow further, your thoughts ease into alignment with the hush of the wind and the hush of the village itself, where nothing is urgent and everything is part of a gentle, enduring cycle. Let the warmth of the midday sun seep into your thoughts like honey on stone. Let the scent of salt and earth and wood smoke cradle you in familiarity, and allow yourself to float gently in this moment, unmoving, untroubled, unwound, here, in this quiet Viking village, where even the air feels slow and full of memory. You are safe, you are welcome, and you are completely, wonderfully still as the sun hovers high in the vast northern sky, casting a golden haze across the Viking coastal town. The pulse of the village slows to a near standstill in a shared moment of restfulness, not from exhaustion or need, but from reverence for the simple balance between effort and stillness, between doing and being, as if the entire community agrees, without words, to pause together beneath the midday warmth. The drying racks stand silent and strong in the soft breeze, their frames sun-bleached and steady, holding rows of drying fish that have begun to firm and curl slightly at the edges, their skin now toughened by sunlight and sea air, emitting a faint but comforting aroma of salt, brine, and preservation that lingers gently in the heat. Around them, baskets lie empty and tools rest against stones, temporarily abandoned as villagers find their places of quiet refuge beneath shade trees with wide branches and fluttering leaves, along sun-dappled porches with low stools and soft furs, or reclining on woven mats laid out in grassy patches that still hold the morning's coolness in their roots. Ingrid, her tasks for the morning complete, settles onto a smooth stone beside the racks, her back straight, hands folded in her lap, and her eyes gently closed as she allows the warmth of the sun to seep into her shoulders and the soft breeze to brush across her cheeks, the moment requiring nothing of her except presence. The sounds of the village have softened into a peaceful hum, low conversations drifting lazily through open doorways, the faint clink of pottery being rinsed at the well, the rhythmic flap of drying cloth against wooden poles, and the rustle of linen skirts and tunics shifting as people adjust their positions for comfort rather than productivity. A dog lies beside her, one ear flicking at a buzzing fly, but otherwise unmoving, its chest rising and falling slowly, in time with Ingrid's own breath, both of them sharing the kind of silence that doesn't ask to be broken. Children nap in bundles of blankets under trees, their cheeks flushed and hair tangled with grass, while others, too full of energy for sleep, but too respectful of the hour's quiet to shout, sit quietly, drawing shapes in the dirt with sticks or weaving thin reeds into simple patterns, their soft laughter bubbling up only occasionally, like ripples In an otherwise calm stream, the breeze carries with it the gentle sense of the ocean and the earth, but also the sweeter notes of dried lavender, crushed mint, and the faintest trace of fresh baked barley bread cooling on a wooden board outside one of the longhouses, its crust dark and fragrant, waiting for the hands that will divide it with care. Above, gulls drift in wide, slow circles, their wings catching the sunlight like parchment sails on a windless sea, occasionally calling out, though even their cries seem subdued by the heaviness of midday. Somewhere beyond the line of trees that frames the inland edge of the village, the sound of a stream murmurs steadily, its voice unchanged and uninterrupted, weaving its soft song beneath the more fragile melodies of human life, a reminder that nature's rhythm is both constant and kind. Time in this moment feels less like a river and more like a still pond, deep, reflective, without beginning or end, where each breath, each flicker of shadow, and each turn of a leaf is both present and eternal. Ingrid, eyes still closed, lets her thoughts drift like smoke from the hearth, following no particular path, touching on memories of her mother's voice humming while turning fish, of winters past when snow blanketed the racks and silence came, not from choice, but from necessity, and of days ahead that will look so much like today that the thought brings not boredom, but comfort. Her fingers gently trace the grain of the wood beside her, feeling the smooth ridges of labor worn into the surface by years of shared use, her body grounded by the stone beneath her, and her heart softened by the sun above. Around her, the village breathes, not with exertion, but with stillness. Each person, each home, and each space holding its own quiet, sacred weight in the pause between the demands of work. And you, dear listener, moving gently within this warm hour of the Viking day, may find that same stillness filling your lungs, softening your limbs, and silencing the busy parts of your mind that no longer need to stir. Allow yourself to rest in this shared hush, where the sun blesses every roof, every path, and every strand of wind-tossed hair with equal care. Let the slow minutes pass without notice or worry, like shadows sliding silently across sunlit stones, and feel the deep peace of a village in balance, a life without rush, and a world that holds space for both effort and ease. Here, beneath the high summer sun and beside the endless sea, you are welcome to rest without question, to breathe without burden, and to be fully, gently, and quietly part of this living lullaby. As the sun begins its slow descent from its noonday peak, casting longer and softer shadows across the Viking coastal town, the peaceful stillness of midday rest gradually gives way to a gentle reawakening, not sudden or jarring, but as natural and fluid as the tide returning to shore, as if the village itself stirs from a brief slumber and remembers its quiet responsibilities with affection rather than obligation. The drying racks, silent companions through the warm hours, now shift slightly in the cooling breeze, their linen coverings flapping softly, like flags bearing no message, but calm, and the rows of fish, silver, ivory, and pale, rose beneath their salted skins, seem to absorb the light with muted satisfaction, their drying nearly complete, their forms firm and their edges curled delicately inward, responding to the wind's subtle touch. Ingrid rises slowly from her resting place beneath a leaning tree, brushing a bit of grass from her cloak, and stretches with the ease of someone whose muscles are tuned not by haste, but by rhythm, her body swaying briefly with the wind before she moves back toward the racks with a small wooden pail in one hand and a folded cloth in the other. Her path takes her past other villagers who, like her, have resumed their movements in the soft hush of the afternoon, some returning to the hearth to stir pots that have simmered quietly through the rest period, others gathering herbs from small gardens behind their homes, their fingers careful and steady as they pluck sage, thyme, and yarrow to be dried or steeped into calming teas. Children resume their duties with quiet enthusiasm, their cheeks still pink from naps or play, now focused on sorting shells or carrying messages from one household to another, their energy gentle and subdued beneath the soft lull of the afternoon sun. A few older boys help a fisherman lift a net to be mended, its coarse, sea-damp texture stretched across two stakes in the ground as nimble fingers begin the process of repairing what the morning's use had frayed, each motion slow and precise, accompanied by stories spoken low in voices just above a whisper, tales of larger catches, sudden storms, and memories of relatives who once worked the same nets in the same place. Under skies just like this one, the wind moves more steadily now, sweeping in from the open sea and brushing across the drying racks with a cool persistence that refreshes the skin and tugs lightly at the cloth wraps that shade the more delicate catch. Ingrid works silently, turning fish one by one, lifting corners of fabric to inspect their edges, occasionally dipping her cloth in water and dabbing at exposed sections that seem to have dried too quickly. Her face calm, her hands deliberate, and her mind focused, not with intensity, but with a quiet trust in the process. Around her, similar movements unfold. A woman rinses a basket in a shallow basin and sets it out to dry beside the well. A child carefully sweeps the dust from the stones in front of her longhouse, creating tidy arcs in the soil with the end of a pine branch. A man sharpens a knife with slow, even strokes against a stone block as he sits cross-legged beneath a window, the rasping sound adding texture to the soft layers of ambient sound that form the afternoon's gentle symphony. The boats in the harbor bob slightly as the tide shifts again, their shadows lengthening across the water, and the gulls, fewer now in number, circle once or twice before settling onto rocks or perching quietly along the rooftops, content to observe rather than interrupt. Smoke rises from several hearths, this time richer and denser, flavored with the smell of drying herbs and preparations for the evening meal, its edges tinged with wood and fish and something faintly sweet, perhaps berry or mead, simmering quietly in a sealed pot near the coals. The entire village moves together in this shared tempo, each person's efforts dovetailing seamlessly with the next. No commands needed, no schedules enforced, only a mutual understanding that everything has its place and time, and that each moment, even the simplest one, holds value When done with care, Ingrid finishes her task at the racks and walks back toward her longhouse with her empty bucket swinging gently at her side, pausing once to tie a fallen piece of linen back into place, her fingers working quickly and efficiently before she resumes her slow path along the sunlit lane. Her shadow stretches long across the ground before her, echoing the shape of the racks behind her, the sea to her left, and the distant tree line to the right, a silhouette framed by land, water, and sky, and by the life she has shaped day by day through these same small motions. And you, dear listener, resting within this moment, may feel your own thoughts settle like dust beneath sweeping pine, your breath deepening, your limbs sinking further into the surface below you as the rhythm of this place carries you further into calm. Let the soft breeze of the afternoon, the scent of wood smoke and salt, and the slow motion of hands performing old tasks guide you into a space of total stillness where you too can become part of this living rhythm, this quiet pulse that connects people to purpose and purpose to peace. Here, in the long light of the Viking afternoon, where nothing is rushed and everything is done with care, you are welcome to rest, to listen, and to be, as the golden afternoon stretches softly into the early hours of evening. The Viking coastal town shifts once again in its gentle rhythm, its heartbeat turning gradually toward the tasks that signal the day's approaching close. Not the hurried scramble of preparation, but a calm, practiced return to readiness as the fishermen and their helpers begin to quietly organize the boats, nets, and supplies for the evening catch beneath a sky slowly deepening into honeyed amber and soft lavender. The light bends long across the landscape now, warming the wooden walls of the longhouses and casting elongated shadows from the drying racks, whose fish lie quietly and nearly cured, their silvery skin dulled to a pale matte finish that shimmers faintly each time the breeze lifts the corners of their linen coverings. The racks creak gently in the wind, a familiar sound that mingles with the low rustling of trees, the soft call of seabirds returning to their roosts, and the slow murmur of footsteps on the stone and earth paths that lead down to the water's edge. Ingrid walks along one such path with slow, thoughtful steps, a coil of rope slung over one shoulder, and a basket in her hands filled with smoked fish and wrapped flatbread, supplies to be loaded into one of the small boats moored along the inlet, where her brother and a few others are preparing to push out for a short evening run, hoping to return before full darkness blankets the sea. Around her, similar preparations unfold with the same unhurried grace. Oars are checked for cracks and knots, sails are folded and tied neatly, and clay jugs filled with water and sweetened herbs are tucked into the corners of each boat, carefully arranged beside bundles of coiled netting and smooth stones used for weighing. There are no shouted instructions, no frantic movements, only a calm, almost meditative coordination between those who have done this countless times before, their bodies moving with the memory of each task, etched deep into muscle and breath, their eyes scanning the water, not with worry, but with quiet familiarity. The sea itself responds to this preparation with gentle waves that lap steadily against the hulls of the boats, their rhythm so constant it seems to exist beneath conscious hearing, a grounding presence that mirrors the village's own steady pace. The light on the water has changed, no longer glittering, but glowing, soft reflection of the evening sky that makes every surface shimmer with a kind of hushed reverence, as if even the ocean has slowed to witness the beauty of the transition. Children watch from a distance, some standing barefoot at the edge of the water, toes sinking into the cool sand as they observe the loading of the boats with wide eyes and quiet voices, knowing that one day it will be their turn to shoulder, rope, to knot the nets, to read the signs of the sea. The elders, seated on low stones or benches set near the harbor's edge, murmur to one another in voices softened by age and memory, occasionally pointing toward the horizon or offering a word of advice to those who will soon take to the water. Ingrid reaches the boats just as her brother adjusts the last tie on a rolled sail, and with a small smile, she hands him the basket and steps back, watching as he packs its contents into the boat's storage area with deliberate care, his movements steady, his gratitude expressed in a nod and the faintest trace of a grin. The others climb aboard without ceremony, their boots landing softly on the worn wood planks, and after one last check, the ropes are released and the boats begin to slide out into the open water, their motion smooth and soundless, save for the quiet splash of oars breaking the surface. Ingrid stands on the shoreline a moment longer, her eyes following the retreating boats as they glide toward the horizon, growing smaller in the widening expanse of sea and sky, their silhouettes framed by the last golden light of the day and the distant shimmer of early stars beginning to appear above the darkening tree line. Behind her, the village continues, its preparations for nightfall. Fires are lit in hearths, doors are gently closed, and the drying racks are checked one last time before linen is tied securely over the rows of fish, protecting them from the damp air that will settle with the coming night. Smoke begins to curl upward from chimneys, carrying with it the warm scents of roasting root vegetables, simmering herbs, and the first slices of dried fish toasted lightly over open flames. The entire village seems wrapped in a gentle contentment, a sense that the day has unfolded exactly as it should, without disruption, without haste, and with the steady, reassuring pulse of a life lived in concert with the elements. And you, dear listener, resting quietly within this unfolding evening, may find your own thoughts drifting like the boats across the water, your breath deepening as the light fades and the sounds of the village soften further into the calm hum of dusk. Let yourself be carried by the slow rhythm of the oars, by the hush of the waves against wood, by the warmth of a hearth waiting behind a wooden door. Here, beneath a sky turning slowly from gold to deep blue, where the sea welcomes its travelers and the village prepares to rest, you are safe to close your eyes, to exhale fully, and to let go of the day with the same peace that guides every hand, every footstep, and every quiet voice along the Viking coast as the last golden remnants of sunlight vanish beyond the distant horizon and dusk gently descends upon the Viking coastal village. A hushed serenity takes hold of the land, air, and sea, casting the entire community in a soft veil of twilight that brings with it not stillness in the sense of lifelessness, but a deeper, more sacred quiet that comes only when the work of the day is done, and the soul of the village exhales as one. The sky overhead transforms gradually from a dusky lavender to a deep, endless indigo, pricked with the first bright points of starlight that shimmer like ancient runes etched across the heavens, whispering stories only the wind can understand. The drying racks, standing sturdy along the now shadowed shoreline, are still and silent beneath their linen coverings, the fish beneath them slowly cooling in the night air, their surfaces dry, slightly curled, and subtly scented with the mingled essence of salt, smoke, and sea. The warmth of the day has faded into a tender coolness, and the breeze that drifts in from the water carries with it a soft chill and the briny aroma of tide in the sand, weaving gently between long houses and over rooftops, stirring flaxen hair, lifting the corners of cloaks, and caressing the grass as it bows slightly in response. Ingrid walks slowly along the path that runs parallel to the shore, her eyes adjusting to the fading light as her boots crunch softly over gravel and dried seaweed, her fingers trailing the low wooden fence that separates the drying racks from the path, not out of necessity, but out of habit, an unconscious gesture born from years of walking this same trail, this same hour, watching the same stars begin to emerge one by one above the quiet rhythm of the sea. Behind her, the soft glow of hearth fires flickers in the small windows of the longhouses, casting warm golden light across stone thresholds and wooden stoops, while inside, families gather around their hearths in quiet conversation, the occasional laugh or song drifting into the evening air like a gentle offering to the night. Children, once lively and laughing beneath the sun, now sit sleepily beside their parents or lay bundled in thick woolen blankets, their faces flushed and peaceful, some already slipping into dreams even before being lifted into bed. The goats and chickens have been gathered safely into pens, their movement now minimal, and the village dogs, once trotting after their humans or barking at birds in the sky, have curled into quiet balls near the doorways, their ears twitching only slightly at distant sounds. The creak of a drying rack, the low murmur of a final conversation, the rhythmic lap of waves against the pebbled beach. The boats sent out earlier glide silently back into the inlet, their approach slow and steady, their silhouettes smooth and familiar against the water, now stained deep blue and silver by the reflection of the moon. Oars dip with a muffled splash and rise again, their movement so natural and seamless that they hardly seem to disturb the surface of the sea. On shore, a few lanterns glow like small stars themselves, carried by those who wait with baskets to receive the evening's catch, or to guide loved ones home through the softly darkened paths. Ingrid turns her gaze toward the boats, watching their arrival with the quiet satisfaction of a life, unfolding in a gentle repetition, and she lingers there for a moment, breathing in the cool air that smells of fish, firewood, and nightfall, letting it settle in her chest before turning to make her way back to the longhouse. Along the way, she passes a group of elders seated beside a low fire near the drying racks, their faces illuminated by the soft orange glow, their voices slow and thoughtful as they share stories of past winters, of harvests long ago, of storms braved and fires shared, their words rising and falling in a cadence as ancient and reliable as the tides. One of them offers a greeting as Ingrid passes, and she nods in return, not needing to speak. For in this hour, acknowledgement lives more in silence than in sound. Overhead, the stars now shimmer in full, the Milky Way stretching across the sky like a soft trail of crushed pearl, watched occasionally by the turning head of a child, gazing up from a longhouse window, or a fisherman laying back in his boat for a moment before unloading the final net. The breeze carries these celestial reflections across the surface of the inlet, where they ripple gently with each motion of water against hull and stone, and it is as though the sea itself dreams beneath the night sky, echoing the hush of the village above. And you, dear listener, suspended in this moment with the village, may find yourself drifting gently within its rhythm, your thoughts slower, your breath quieter, your body softer beneath the weight of calm. Let the darkness wrap around you like a woolen cloak. Let the quiet voices, the faint smells of brine and smoke, the distant creaking of wood and gentle splash of oars carry you even further into rest. Here, in this Viking village, settled beneath a dome of stars, and beside the ever-patient sea, where evening tasks end, not in rush, but in gratitude, where fires flicker and old stories are told beneath the moonlight, you are welcome to sleep, to sigh, to close your eyes, and trust that everything is held by the same peaceful rhythm, the same enduring calm, the same slow and steady song of night, as true night drapes itself gently over the Viking coastal town, settling like a soft woolen blanket pulled lovingly across the shoulders of the land. The village sinks deeper into its quiet nocturnal rhythm, where the outer world recedes into stillness, and the inner spaces, the warm hearths, the deep silences, and the tender closeness of community begin to glow with quiet life, their flickers of warmth and presence shining like fireflies scattered among the longhouses. The sky above is now fully dressed in darkness, a deep ocean of stars that glimmer and dance against the ink-black firmament, each one seeming to pulse with a slow breath in perfect harmony with the gentle lapping of the sea below, whose tide rolls in with a soft, soothing consistency that grounds the heart like a lullaby made of water and time. The drying racks near the shore, having completed their day's service, now rest beneath linen cloths tied snugly at the corners, their contents held safe beneath their covers, no longer actively tended but still observed, still part of the village's gentle evening awareness. The paths that wind through the settlement are lit not by torches or loud flame, but by soft flickers from within the long houses, where hearths crackle low and steady, their orange light casting shadows that sway and stretch across floors and walls like dancers with no need for music. Inside Ingrid's home, the atmosphere is calm and hushed, a sanctuary of flickering warmth and the soft rhythms of nighttime routines. Fur-lined mats arranged for sleeping, hands rubbing salve into tired fingers, quiet voices sharing thoughts from the day or small stories, meant only to be half heard before sleep steals them away. A small pot hangs above glowing coals in the hearth, the broth within giving off faint steam tinged with wild thyme and dried onions. Not a full meal, but a nighttime sip of comfort meant to soothe the stomach and still the mind. Ingrid sits on a woven stool near the fire, her long braid loosened and resting over one shoulder, her hands busy folding cloths used earlier at the racks, smoothing each with care, before stacking them neatly into a cedarwood chest that breathes out a scent of old forests and long winters. Her brother lies nearby, his head cradled on a pillow of straw and soft fabric, one arm folded over his chest, eyes closed but not yet asleep, listening instead to the gentle sounds around him, the quiet pop of wood in the fire, the occasional hoot of an owl in the trees beyond the walls, and the soft, rhythmic breathing of their youngest sibling, already deep in slumber under a heavy wool blanket. The night moves slowly outside, its sounds subtle and sparse, a breeze that stirs the tall grasses near the cliff's edge, the faint flutter of a curtain shifting in a half-open window, the quiet creak of wood as the longhouse settles further into the earth. The village itself feels like one great living creature, curled inward, exhaling, resting, its energy drawn not from action now, but from the profound stillness that comes only when every task has been completed with care, and nothing more is needed but to simply be. The air carries with it the smells of charred wood, distant sea spray, and a faint trace of dried lavender hung in bundles from the rafters, its scent released gently with every shift in temperature as the fire rises and falls. From the house next door, a song begins, low, slow, and without words, just a melody hummed by a mother as she rocks her infant, the tune slipping through the wooden walls and into the shared space of the night, adding a gentle layer of comfort to the already quiet world. Ingrid leans back slightly, gazing into the embers, their glow reflected in her eyes, her thoughts not focused on anything specific, but floating gently, drifting through images of fish laid out in the sun, of her father mending nets when she was a child, of the sea and its slow-moving secrets. She does not fight sleep, nor does she chase it. She allows it to come like everything else in her life does, naturally, patiently, without demand. In other homes, others follow the same quiet rituals, closing shutters, tucking in small children, whispering blessings, placing dried herbs under pillows to keep dreams peaceful, or placing one hand on a loved one's shoulder as a silent reminder of presence, of closeness, of love expressed not through grand gestures, but through proximity and shared breath in the quiet dark. In the quiet dark, the wind whispers through the village like a storyteller, brushing against rooftops and drying racks, carrying with it tales of distant storms and calm harbors, of fish that glow in moonlight and stars that guide without needing to be seen. And it moves around the sleeping houses with gentle persistence, a guardian as old as the stones beneath the town itself. And you, dear listener, held now within this world of soft firelight and deeper shadow, may feel your body slowing further, your limbs growing heavy and warm, your breath synchronizing with the lull of the sea and the whisper of the wind. Let Yourself rest in this hush, where nothing is required and everything is provided. Warmth, peace, stillness, and the soft embrace of a village at rest. Here, beneath the stars and beside the shore, within the hum of glowing hearths and the steadiness of lives lived close to the land, you are safe to let go, to close your eyes, and to drift into sleep as quietly and gently as the tide slides up the sand, as the night deepens into its most silent and sacred hours, when even the stars appear to still their shimmer and the waves roll in with the gentleness of whispered lullabies. The Viking coastal town lies in a near-complete hush, blanketed in a tranquility so deep it feels timeless, as if the world has slipped into a slower rhythm, one that is not measured by tasks or conversations or footsteps, but by the steady breath of the earth itself. The moon, now high above the sea, casts a broad swath of silver across the water, its reflection stretching toward the rocky shoreline like a glowing ribbon, illuminating the anchored fishing boats with a soft, ethereal sheen, their hulls bobbing in barely perceptible motions, creaking softly against their moorings in quiet conversation with the tide. The drying racks stand untouched, framed by moonlight and shadow, their linen covers barely stirring in the cool sea air, the salted fish beneath them now entirely still, preserved by hours of wind and warmth, resting beneath the vast sky like offerings from the sea to the people who live by it. Along the winding dirt paths of the village, there is no movement now, no voices, no flicker of flame from open doors, only the occasional faint sigh of timber settling in the walls of the longhouses, or the creak of rope against wood where the boats are tied. Within each home, the fires have died down to low, pulsing embers, casting long shadows across sleeping forms curled beneath wool and fur, their breath slow and even, their dreams silent and soft, shaped by days of simplicity and nights of uninterrupted stillness. In Ingrid's home, the air is warm with the scent of old wood smoke, sun-dried herbs, and the lingering essence of seawater that clings to clothes and skin. And the glow from the hearth embers paints faint traces of amber light along the rough walls and beams overhead. Ingrid sleeps soundly, her face turned gently toward the warmth of the fire, one hand resting open near her chest, her brow smooth and peaceful, her braid loose and fanned out across the woven blanket beneath her. All around her, the house breathes quietly. The wooden floor creaks subtly under its own weight. A faint breeze slips through a tiny gap in the window shutter, and the rhythmic sighs of her family echo like a second heartbeat within the space. Outside, the dogs have long since tucked themselves beside doorways or curled up near the drying racks, their eyes closed, bodies rising and falling with the pace of uninterrupted rest, their dreams perhaps chasing the same gulls they barked at earlier in the day. The animals in their pens lie still as well, the goats nestled against one another for warmth, the chickens tucked beneath their wings, and not even the owls stirring now, their wings folded beneath the canopy of the nearby pines, as if even nature itself has granted permission for perfect pause. The stars above shine brighter now in the moon's company, no longer competing with the light of day or the flicker of flame, but steady, cool, and precise, like silver nails pinning the night sky into place, forming constellations that these villagers have known since childhood. Guides, companions, stories passed on not in books, but in gestures toward the sky, and words whispered by firelight. The wind moves like breath between the drying racks and longhouse walls, not sharp or forceful, but soft, constant, and kind, brushing gently against the grass, the cloth, the beams, and the eaves, weaving its way through the village with the care of a watchful guardian. There is a kind of holiness in this hour, a feeling that everything that needed to be done has been done, that all that was stirred has now settled, and that even time itself has slowed, waiting respectfully for the village to rest before it continues on its path toward dawn. Ingrid shifts slightly in her sleep, drawing her blanket closer to her chin, her breathing remaining slow, untroubled, untouched by worry or thought, her body surrendered completely to the rhythm of the night. In the distance, the sea sighs again, rolling gently against the stone and sand with a consistency so ancient and undisturbed that it feels like the very heartbeat of the world, a pulse that hums beneath everything, beneath dreams, beneath walls, beneath stars. And you, dear listener, resting now within this sacred stillness, may feel that same pulse resonating softly within you, your breath sinking to the rhythm of waves, your thoughts becoming like mist, formless, weightless, and free. There is nothing to disturb you here, nothing to ask for your attention, nothing to pull you away from this deep and perfect quiet. Let yourself fall further into it. Let your limbs grow heavier, your eyelids softer, your breath deeper, as the world of this coastal village carries you ever more gently into the center of night. Here, where even the wind whispers slower, where the fire is only embers and the sea is only sound, where each soul sleeps wrapped in warmth and history, you are safe to let go completely, to surrender to the rhythm of silence, and to find rest that is full and dreamless, and whole beneath the stars of the old north, and the hush of a village in sleep, in the quietest and most delicate hour of night, that space where time seems to pause between the last breath of darkness and the first hint of day. The Viking coastal village lies in a state of perfect suspension, held tenderly between sleep and waking, past and future, silence and sound, wrapped in the cool embrace of the hour before dawn. When the stars begin to retreat, one by one behind a faint curtain of pale light blooming slowly on the eastern edge of the world, and everything, from the wind to the sea to the breath of the sleeping, is hushed as if the village itself is listening for the sun. The moon hangs low now, nearing the end of its arc, its silver light stretched thin across the water, broken by the slow, steady movement of the tide, as it slips between rocks and pebbles with a softness that speaks more to rhythm than force, like fingers running gently across the surface of a harp, too ancient for music. The drying racks stand in long shadows, their silhouettes growing fainter as the sky above them begins to shift from indigo to slate, their linen coverings damp with dew, their fish now fully dried, preserved by day after day of careful tending, their bodies still and pale, silent testimonies to the patience and precision of the hands that laid them there. No footsteps echo on the paths, No doors creak open, no voices stir the air yet, but inside the longhouses, the fire embers flicker weakly in their stone hearths, casting dim pools of orange across dirt floors and the sleeping forms wrapped in wool and fur, their bodies curled and still, their minds adrift in the last chapters of dreams carried over from a day of soft sun, steady wind, and slow work. Ingrid sleeps soundly near the hearth, her blanket pulled high to her chin, one hand resting near her mouth, her braid tucked behind her shoulder, her breathing deep and even, the kind of breathing that comes from a life aligned with the natural world, a body tuned to the rise and fall of tides and the pulse of the seasons, a spirit unburdened by noise or urgency. Around her, her family lies in similar postures of peaceful rest, her brother stretched out near the wall, an elbow crooked under his head, the youngest curled into the center of a fur mat, lost in the warm, imageless world of early morning sleep. The room is still, except for the occasional crackle from the fire pit and the faint creak of a timber beam shifting its weight in the cool air. Outside, the breeze has nearly stopped, and only the slightest flutter of seagrass or the faraway hoot of an owl remains to remind the earth that it is still turning. The village animals rest without stirring. Goats huddled together in pens, chickens fluffed against one another on their roosts, dogs with their noses tucked beneath their tails near doorways, twitching only now and then as if responding to something in their dreams. The harbor, wrapped in a low mist that has begun to rise from the warming water, holds the boats in a soft, gray cradle, their ropes slack and damp, their sails rolled tight and still as they await the hands that will guide them once again into open waters. From the forest beyond, the trees rise like dark sentinels, unmoving, quiet, their limbs touched faintly by the first cool light, and within them, unseen creatures pause, sensing the coming of day, not with dread or joy, but with instinctual respect for the changing sky. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a faint glow begins to spread, not from the moon or the fire, but from the world itself, from the horizon where the sea meets sky. Soft, milk-colored shimmer that begins to fill the spaces between stars and dilute the deep navy of the heavens, signaling that the moment of stillness is almost over, that life will soon begin to stir again. Not all at once, but gently, like the lifting of a curtain or the unfolding of a flower. Within her longhouse, Ingrid shifts slightly beneath her blanket, her brow twitching as her body begins to sense what her mind has not yet grasped. That morning is near, that the time of dreams is giving way once more to the steady hum of day. She inhales deeply, a long breath that expands her chest beneath the furs, then exhales slowly, not waking, not rising, but simply responding to the world's quiet call. And elsewhere, other villagers do the same, rolling in sleep, adjusting blankets, stretching fingers, brushing away strands of hair, their movements small and slow, like the first winds that precede the arrival of weather, like the creaking of boats before a journey. And you, dear listener, resting here in the final moment of night, are invited to remain in this perfect stillness just a little longer, to let the soft hum of the sea and the gentle rhythm of sleeping breath Soothe every edge of your thoughts, every trace of wakefulness, every ripple of tension in your muscles. Let the last stars linger in your mind like soft glints of silver. Let the dew of the hour coat your imagination with calm. Here, in this breath between darkness and light, in the gentle cradle of the Viking coast, you are safe, you are unseen, you are loved by the quiet, and you are free to sleep as long as the stars remain, to drift in peace as long as the tide is low, and to rise only when your spirit is ready to meet the sun. As the first thread of sunlight breaks over the eastern sea, stretching delicately across the horizon like golden embroidery, stitching night to day, the Viking coastal village stirs from its slumber in a manner so soft and gradual, it feels less like waking and more like rising within a dream, where the boundaries between stillness and motion, between sleep and breath, are gently blurred by the warm touch of morning light. The stars have mostly faded now, their silver sparks swallowed into the widening glow of dawn, leaving behind a sky painted in muted tones of pale rose, amber, and silvery blue, a watercolor wash that reflects gently off the calm surface of the inlet where the fishing boats rest still and undisturbed, their sails dark and folded like the wings of birds waiting for flight. Mist lingers over the grass and between the drying racks, curled low like sleeping spirits, reluctant to leave the world of dreams. And the racks themselves, those sturdy wooden frames that have stood through many seasons, cast long, soft shadows on the earth, their linen coverings damp with dew, each one sheltering rows of fish that now glisten slightly in the golden light, their salt-crusted skins transformed by the new day into surfaces of quiet beauty. From the longhouses, faint sounds begin to rise, not loud or abrupt, but woven into the natural rhythm of the world around them, the creak of timber, the soft thump of feet on wooden floors, the scratch of flint striking kindling to relight the hearth fires that have burned down to cold ash in the night. Ingrid opens her eyes slowly beneath the woven furs, her body already warm from sleep and the lingering heat of the last embers, and she lies still for a moment, listening, first to the muffled breathing of her family still at rest, then to the sound of the wind brushing softly against the walls outside, and finally to the distant call of gulls as they rise and circle above the water, drawn toward the scent of sea and the first stirrings of movement below. With a long, quiet breath, she pulls herself upright, wrapping a shawl across her shoulders and stepping toward the low window to peer out into the half-lit world, her eyes adjusting to the soft gleam of dawn as they scan the racks, the boats, the sky, and then settle on nothing in particular, only the slow, familiar unfolding of a new day. Behind her, her brother stirs and mutters something unintelligible, rolling beneath his blanket, while a log is added to the hearth by one of the elders, sparking new life into the coals and sending a soft glow back into the room. The longhouse begins to breathe with renewed life, and soon a small pot is set over the rekindled flame, its contents, barley, bits of dried fish, and a few herbs, slowly warming into the humble but nourishing meal that will begin their day. Outside, villagers begin to emerge from their homes one by one, wrapped in cloaks and shawls, their faces still creased from sleep, but their expressions calm and open, shaped by years of waking with the sun and the sea. They move slowly but purposefully, checking the racks, gathering kindling, fetching water from the well, exchanging quiet nods and brief words of greeting as the warmth of the day begins to build. Children still sleep, tucked deep into woolen nests, their dreams dissolving gradually as light seeps into the corners of their rooms, and the village dogs stretch lazily, tails thumping once or twice before they rise and begin to sniff the air, padding softly from doorway to pathway, noses close to the earth. The fire smoke begins to rise once more in gentle plumes above the rooftops, curling into the morning air, where it mingles with the scent of sea breeze, warming herbs, and fresh earth made damp from the clinging mist. Ingrid steps outside, her boots brushing against the wet grass, her breath visible in the crisp morning air, and she turns her face to the sky, letting the light touch her skin, not with urgency, but as a ritual, an acknowledgement of presence, of gratitude, of rhythm. The ocean murmurs in the distance, low and steady, its voice the same as it was yesterday and the day before, and all the days stretching backward into memory. Everything is as it should be. The fish have dried, the hearths have warmed, the nets have rested, and the sun has returned to cast its blessing across the quiet village once again. And you, dear listener, still nestled in the quiet of this unfolding morning, may feel the warmth of the light on your own skin, may hear the soft hush of wind and flame, may see the shimmer of salt on drying fish, and the smile behind Ingrid's steady gaze as she turns to begin her part of the day. There is no rush, no noise, no disturbance here, only the steady unfolding of a life lived in harmony with water and wood, wind and time. Let this light hold you a little longer. Let it fill you with warmth, not of fire, but of peace. Here, in the tender calm of first light, you are welcome to remain, not as a visitor, but as a part of this rhythm, this cycle, this breath of earth that begins, again and again, as softly as the sun rises over the water, as the light of morning spreads more boldly across the Viking coastal town, chasing the last veils of mist into the forest and across the sea. The village awakens into its full rhythm once more, not with noise or haste, but with the calm certainty of people who understand the cycles of earth, water, and time as intimately as they know the patterns in the palms of their own hands. The sun now casts a soft, golden sheen over every surface. The rooftops of the longhouses glisten faintly with leftover dew. The wooden drying racks glow in the new light as they stand along the shoreline like gentle guardians of labor completed, and the grass between homes sways gently in the breeze that flows in from the ocean, carrying with it the scent of salt, dried fish, wood smoke, and distant pine. The fish on the racks are fully dried now, their texture firm, their skin slightly curled, their colors dulled into pale grays and muted silvers. The shine of freshly caught sea life, replaced by the sturdy matte finish of something that will last, that will nourish, that has been cared for and transformed by sun, wind, smoke, and touch. The villagers begin to gather, one by one and in pairs, carrying baskets and empty wooden trays, some with linen bundles to wrap the finished fish, others with ropes to secure the covered portions into storage crates, their voices low and pleasant, exchanging greetings, not as formality, but as shared ritual, a gentle reaffirmation that each day is built not only on tasks, but on presence, on cooperation, on communal breath. Ingrid walks toward the racks with steady footsteps, her eyes scanning the fish rows with practiced grace, her hands already reaching to gently test the dryness, her expression calm and grounded as she offers a wordless nod to another woman arriving from the neighboring house, who responds with a quiet smile and begins folding linen with slow, sure fingers. Together, they work in harmony, no instruction needed, their movements like a dance repeated 1,000 times but never rushed, each fish lifted, inspected, wrapped or transferred to storage with care that reflects not just skill, but reverence, deep and abiding respect for what the sea has given and what their hands have shaped. Around them, others join in, the older men lifting crates and setting them beside the racks with quiet grunts, the younger women tying twine around the bundles and laying them gently into carts that will soon carry the preserved catch to the storage house near the base of the hill, shaded and cool, where salted fish will rest beside jars of berries, bundles of herbs, and woven sacks of grain. The children help in small ways, carrying folded cloths, gathering bits of scattered twine, or handing baskets up to the adults. Their energy now calm, their chatter soft as they imitate the actions around them, slowly learning the rhythm through observation and participation. The morning sun rises higher, warming their backs as they work, and though their pace remains unhurried, there is a clear sense of purpose, of completion, as row after row of drying racks are cleared and the sea-salted bounty is folded neatly into the shape of sustenance for days and seasons to come. The occasional breeze lifts the edges of the linen cloths and carries with it the soft voices of the workers, the occasional laughter, the creak of wooden carts being loaded, and the rustling whisper of seagrass shifting underfoot. There is no overseer, no call to attention, only the silent leadership of experience, of memory passed through action, of knowing that the land, the ocean, and their community rely on these small, gentle labors, repeated again and again across the turning of time. Once the final fish is lifted and wrapped, Ingrid wipes her hands on the edge of her apron and pauses, standing back for a moment to gaze down the row of empty racks. Their wood warm now in the full sun, their lines clean, straight, and bathed in golden light. She breathes deeply, letting the scent of morning fill her lungs. Fresh linen, fish oil, earth, and feels the simple, complete satisfaction of a task done with care, of tradition honored, of balance maintained. Around her, the villagers begin to disperse again, some returning to the hearths to prepare the midday meal, others lingering to repair the racks or begin weaving new cloths for the next cycle, while a few older voices rise in a quiet discussion about the weather, the tides, and the strength of the last harvest. The village hums softly now, with the music of completion, not the loud cheer of triumph, but the deep, abiding peace of continuity, of being part of a process older than any single person, a rhythm measured not in days or seasons, but in generations. And you, dear listener, still nestled in the warmth of this shared morning, may feel your own breath fall into that rhythm, your thoughts softened by the light and the labor, your mind sinking further into the gentle hum of a world at peace. Let the slow creak of wheels, the low voices of neighbors, and the whisper of wind over racks guide you deeper into rest, into stillness, into the simple beauty of a morning spent doing quiet work with kind hands. Here, beside the sea, beneath the sun, and among people whose lives move with grace, you are safe, you are welcome, and you are held within a rhythm that asks only that you breathe and be as the sun reaches its gentle zenith, casting down a warm, golden light that settles like soft silk over every surface of the Viking coastal village. The tempo of the day begins to shift once again, not into urgency or flurry, but into a kind of deliberate pause, a moment set aside not by rule or signal, but by shared instinct, a communal understanding that the work of the morning has earned its rest, and that the heart beats best when it can slow for a while in the embrace of sun, earth, and silence. The drying racks, now cleared and clean, stand proudly in the full light of day, their empty frames echoing the quiet satisfaction of a task completed, and the faint scent of salt and fish lingers on the air, woven into the threads of linen cloths, now folded and carried into the shaded storehouses. The village paths are quieter now, the voices that filled the morning softening into low conversation or disappearing entirely, replaced by the rustle of breeze through reeds, the occasional creak of a wooden door swinging closed, and the steady hum of insects enjoying the midday warmth. Within the cluster of long houses, families retreat indoors or gather in shaded courtyards, their movements slow and relaxed, their minds no longer tethered to the timing of tasks, but drifting, content and unburdened. Inside Ingrid's home, the hearth has been rekindled, not with a roaring fire, but with a modest flame that warms a clay pot resting above it, from which rises the aroma of simmering broth made from dried fish, barley, and the early shoots of wild garlic gathered near the stream. Its scent earthy, simple, and familiar, filling the space with a comfort that speaks not of indulgence, but of nurture. The air is still cool near the floor, though sunlight filters through a high window, illuminating a section of wall where bundles of herbs hang drying: thyme, nettle, sage, their scents blending subtly with the broth, creating an atmosphere that seems as much medicine as meal. Ingrid sits cross-legged on a woven mat, her back straight, hands in her lap, watching the fire with eyes half-lidded, not in fatigue, but in reflection, her breath calm, her thoughts unhurried, her body resting in that rare stillness that comes not from exhaustion, but from balance. Her brother lies nearby, arm over his eyes, one leg bent, his breathing deep and even, while the youngest naps against a wool-lined wall bench, fingers curled around a small wooden carving, chest rising and falling with the complete surrender of childhood sleep. Outside the home, others rest as well, some gathered in circles, in shaded spaces, between longhouses, sharing food, leaning back against wooden beams or tree trunks, occasionally sipping from wooden cups filled with cool water, steeped with mint or slices of dried fruit. Conversation here is minimal, and where it does exist, it comes in soft tones. Questions about how much salt to use in the next curing batch, quiet musings about the shift in the wind, memories shared not to entertain, but to gently pass the time, like weaving words into the silence. A few of the older villagers sit with their legs stretched before them, eyes closed, their faces tilted slightly toward the sun, their mouths sometimes moving silently, as if speaking to old companions, or perhaps simply giving thanks to the day itself for arriving as it always does, steady and patient. Dogs lie stretched in narrow strips of sun, their fur warm to the touch, ears flicking occasionally at the buzz of a nearby fly, but otherwise unmoving, as much a part of the afternoon's peace as the thatched roofs and stone foundations of the homes. The sea, visible just beyond the line of racks and smokehouses, sparkles gently in the midday light, its surface dappled with silver where the breeze kisses it, and its waves rise and fall in long, slow patterns, their sound muffled by distance but ever present, a heartbeat beneath the stillness. Even the birds, usually so vocal in the morning and evening, seem subdued now, their songs replaced with the occasional flap of wings or a solitary call echoing across the fields. The world, in this moment, feels held together by warmth and rhythm, by the shared agreement that there is strength in slowness, that life is not just about effort, but also about ease, about sitting with the breath, about feeling the body against the ground, and knowing that, for now, nothing more is required. Ingrid sips from a wooden bowl, its contents steaming gently, her fingers warming around its edges, her gaze still unfocused, not sleepy but softened, tuned to the hum of the present. No thoughts of tomorrow crowd her mind. No memories of hardship press against her chest. Only the taste of broth, the scent of sage, the crackle of firewood, and the weight of sunlight across her back. And you, dear listener, drawn into this tender hour, may find your own thoughts loosening their grip, your shoulders sinking lower, your breath becoming slower and deeper, your spirit unwinding like linen from a spindle. Let the warmth of midday fill your senses. Let the silence settle into your limbs. Let the simple beauty of shared stillness cradle you, as if you, too, were lying beneath a woolen blanket beside a hearth, unbothered by time, untouched by urgency. Here, in the heart of a Viking village at rest, where the sea waits, the hearth glows, and the people breathe without rush or demand, you are safe to remain unmoving, unthinking, undone in the most peaceful way, just being, just breathing, until the day decides once again to stir. As the sun continues its arc across the sky, and the village shifts from rest back into gentle motion, the Viking coastal town enters the steady rhythm of afternoon, where energy does not return in sudden bursts, but in measured waves, movements quiet, tasks deliberate, and the world once again filled with the low hum of hands at work. The midday warmth lingers in the air, not oppressive, but comforting, spreading over the longhouses, the drying racks now empty and resting in the light, and the soft grass paths that curve between homes and the shore. The shadows begin to stretch again, long and angled, and the wind off the sea carries a cooler edge, rustling the linen curtains, hanging from open doorways, and stirring the feathers of birds perched atop thatched roofs. From within Ingrid's home, the scent of earlier broth still lingers, mixed now with the faint, earthy sweetness of beeswax and linen. The family has risen from their rest, and like many others across the village, has resumed the quiet tasks that shape the second half of the day. Not demanding work, but the kind that requires presence and care, mending fishing nets, retying loose bindings, reinforcing worn clothing seams, preparing tools for tomorrow's labor, and checking dried stores for signs of moisture or pests. Ingrid sits just outside her long house on a low stool made smooth by years of use, a woven basket at her feet, and a bundle of nets draped across her lap. Her fingers move with calm assurance, threading lengths of twine through the weathered knots, repairing tears made by stones, seaweed, or restless fish, each stitch a small act of patience, part of a cycle that never truly ends. Across the narrow path, another woman works quietly on a wooden bench, braiding strips of bark and soft leather into sandals, her hands steady as her child plays nearby, softly humming and stacking flat stones into a tiny wall that collapses and is rebuilt again and again. The men of the village carry tools and blades to shaded spaces near the woods, where grinding stones and whetstones sit ready. Their work is slow and methodical, the soft scrape of blade against stone, blending with the murmur of wind and the distant song of a gull soaring high above.